Welcome to Coach Development Live on the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. If you're a new or developing coach who wants to coach with confidence, get better on the floor, and make a real impact, you're in the right place. Every episode, you'll hear from Level 4 coaches Todd and me, Kristin Bowen, as we break down practical coaching tips, real-world strategies, and answer your biggest coaching questions live. No fluff, just the help you need to sharpen your skills and become the best coach you can be. Let's get started.
Wow. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, Denise? There is no fluff on these calls. So I know you're a guest today. I don't want any of that fluff that you normally bring.
There'll be no fluff, and we'll start here. I see you walking the line, giving no corrections, which is a nice segue into what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Just look. Yeah. Denise, as always, excited to have you on. Stoked to have you there. We've got we talked about this beforehand. We got the good lighting. You've got the summer nails in full effect. Show the crowd. Look at that. She's ready to rock and roll. Look at those things.
Do you think I have my knuckles look like eyeballs? They do, right? You know that?
Doesn't everybody's know?
No, Ash
well, mine aren't straight, so.
Ash is also younger than me, but yeah, Ash is like, your knuckles look like eyeballs. Like that, you know the book from the Never-Ending Story that has the eyeball on it? They're my knuckles.
Man, Never-Ending Story. That was my favorite show as a kid. That's the best.
The
best.
The horse dies, devastating. I'm still suffering.
Yeah.
Yes, Jessica. Wait, me too to what? Eyeball knuckles or
eyeball knuckles is what I'm guessing with, or summer nails. I don't know, one of the two. I meant you got the same eyeball knuckles. Is that a thing for everybody nowadays?
We're talking about eyeball knuckles. Tag me. Put it on your Instagram. Tag me. You can't beat those. Look at them. Look at the hands.
Eyeballs. We know when you say I've got eyes everywhere. That's it. And that can be in line with some of the stuff we're going to talk about. Denise and I were talking yesterday. We were texting a little bit what we were going to cover today. And what was it, Denise? We're going to go how to coach people to move faster and move poorly.
Yeah, move fast and poorer. I forget the terminology, but it's all about the score.
Yeah, that's what we're diving into today. It's all about the score. That is the number one priority when you're running class. So how do we get our athletes to go faster to get better scores? Right. Is that it?
Yeah. No, tell the people what we're really doing here, Todd.
We are here to talk about cueing. And when it comes to cueing, there's 3 different cueing styles, Denise. What are those 3 different cueing styles?
Those cueing styles, as per CrossFit's training protocols, are verbal, so a spoken command, visual, where you will mime what you want and maybe what you don't want and have a contrasting image. And then tactile is where we provide some kind of physical target that the athlete's really just searching for, so they know when they make contact with that target, it's time to do some kind of action.
Nice. Yeah. So verbal, visual, and tactile. And I'd be curious, we're going to get there, I think, to this point, or at some point, of like just your journey through cues and corrections through your coaching. Look, we got Kyle, first time on the live call. Kyle, what's up, man? So good to have you.
Welcome.
When it comes to verbal, visual, and tactile, so I'd be curious to know what's your go-to? What do we see primarily? Right?
I'm a verbal.
Why is that?
Well, I think if you ask me why, it's a good question. I think it's just quicker and I can do it pretty well now. I didn't used to be able to. I used to be like all handsy because I couldn't say what I needed to say quick enough. I'm like, do what I want you to do. And I'm just frantically. But verbal is really quick. I think because I'm able to say something in few words, it can be effective. I can impact more people in less time. So verbal is definitely my go-to because of the ease of it now. But it wasn't always that way.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. I think as coaches evolve and get more specific and their verbal cues are just more effective, they default that direction a lot. I think the other big piece, like you said, is it just takes less resources to do it. I can give 5 verbal cues on a single rep if I keep them short, specific, and actionable, right? Last week we were talking about that 2-1-2 concept, or the static, dynamic, static. And it's always interesting to me, because when we're at level 2s and we're watching people coach, and you challenge, if somebody's doing a really good job, and I'm like, I'm going to challenge you to this next level thing, which is this concept of like, look at people in the static position, give at least 1 cue before you call the rep, and look dynamically. Oftentimes I'll see that somebody sees something across the group, and instead of just giving that verbal cue, their tendency is to run over there and either give them a visual or a tactile. And that was me in the old day. Let me get over there. Let me get your elbows up just an inch, or whatever that is. And now all of a sudden we've kind of lost our flow and our structure, and how we're systematically going to get around the group. So the more effective we are with our verbal cues, just the easier it's going to be for us. Now, beyond verbal cues, visual or tactile, which ones would you say you use second most?
Visual.
Tell me more about that. Why is that the case?
Because again, I can affect maybe not as many verbal in a short period of time, but it's easy to say, do this. And I can do that from afar. So verbal, visual, I can do from like outside the shark infested water. That's what I call the middle of the room. Is like, hey, there's going to be a time you got to get in there, but you better get in and get out. You're going to get bit. So I'm like, I like to be on the shore, you know. At level 2, sometimes I'll draw a little line and be like, don't go in. If you do, you better get in now. But yeah, I can, visual and verbal are the quickest ones. And visual is the same. As long as they can see me and I can get their attention, I can make a quicker impact than I can with tactile. I mean, tactile is last only because if we have so many people in a class, and people that are listening will know this, you just cannot have these one-on-one conversations or one-on-one opportunities to give them a physical target with you as a human as you can the others. But what I do a lot of is tactile and a visual or a verbal, usually verbal and tactile. So I'll be standing next to the one person and I'll say, you know, pull your ribs down or touch my hand while I'm kind of looking over, because all they got to do is reach. All I got to do is feel that they get there. I can get something across the room, and then I can come back to see if actually when they did get there, did it make the change I wanted? So that's when I use tactile, when I'm obviously right next to them.
Yeah, it's the most expensive because you can only do it with the person next to you. The visual one, you obviously have to be in front of somebody so they can see you. But if I'm in the front of the class, then I've got the opportunity to give visual cues to multiple athletes, or if I'm in front of a line, I can do that. But tactile, you're limited to the person right next to you. The other thing with tactile that I find is not most of the time, but a lot of the time people have barbells in their hand, and there's not, I'm not getting in there and giving targets when barbells are flying around and that kind of stuff.
You're not doing a touch my hand with your head while you got
while we're doing
grace,
while we're doing grace in the middle of the workout.
Got
it. Yeah. And so you just think of the concept of the cueing styles themselves, and there's certain movements that lend themselves in certain situations that lend themselves to tactile cues, and then there's other where you're like, there's no way that I'm going to do this. So I think that has a lot to do with it. Now, I'm going to ask a good question. How do you shift from being a tactile cue person to a verbal cue person? Was there any specific point where it was a conscious decision made to do that? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that, DT.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, when I get asked the question of how do you get to a level of seeing and correcting at the speed that we can do it at, it's all down to what we did through seminar staff. I developed that skill by being told time after time after time, check your static, get your dynamic, you're using too many of these cues, that cue. So every weekend we would be just building on it. But then what I would do, because I was having that level of excellence set, I would bring that then into the affiliate, and I would run circles in the affiliate class. Yeah. So not let's say tomorrow we're doing strict press at our gym, and I thought about maybe getting them in a circle with PVC pipe and just doing some progressions and steps with that. But then when we go to actually pressing, we're going to either go the racks or take it from the floor. So, but I would just try to replicate that in the affiliate. And I know a lot of people, for some reason, they have issue with circles in affiliates. And it's just bonkers to me. I'm like, how else are you going to develop? I mean, are you going to wait for that one feedback session a quarter or even every 2 weeks? It's like, no, you have to be doing your self-development. It's got to happen in the class. You got to find opportunities. And I think whenever you're doing the 9 foundational movements, not only are they awesome, it gives you an opportunity to practice some of these tactics. So what I would do is I'd put out the circle and I would say, I can only give verbal cues. Again, it's just a drill. It's not ever, but there was some discomfort in that because there's a lot of pauses and periods of silence where I'm not doing anything, but you got to sit in your comfort and go through it or you'll never break into that next level.
Yeah, I think that's it, is like challenging yourself and then figuring out a way to hold yourself accountable in order to do that. So if you know that you primarily do tactile cues, challenging yourself, like you said, to do a session where you coach and you don't use any tactile cues and see how effective you are with your verbal and visual. I know a lot of times at the end of the level 2s, I talk about taking the feedback that the participants have received over the course of 2 days. And as you know, it's usually like drinking through a fire hose and they have 4 notebooks worth of stuff, especially if they've gone to DT's level 2. But I can remember from mine where like one of the pieces of feedback that I got was that I never used tactile cues. And so I always give the example of like, all right, so I made that a goal. And in order to hold myself accountable, I used to keep a dry erase marker in my pocket. And as I was coaching class, I was like, I want at least 1 tactile cue per athlete. And so every time I'd give a tactile cue, I'd walk by the whiteboard and put a little tally on the board with my dry erase marker. And then that way at the end of class, I could count how many people were in class, how many tactile cues did I give. And that was a way for me to hold myself accountable and ensure that I was making the changes that I wanted to. So that's, another thing to consider there.
Well, 2 things, Todd. One thing just to add on is also try whenever you're trying to either improve or reintroduce a new skill set, do it with a simple movement. Like make it a deliberate piece of your lesson plan. The air squat is a great example. It's not going to be the worst thing in the world if you make people worse during the air squat, but you can only use verbal cues. I wouldn't do that with something that's so complex where you're still trying to figure out progressions, focuses, reps. And then the second thing, I don't know if this is the right time to talk about this, but it's on the tip of my tongue. Question for you. If you never, and I'll go to one at the extreme, like you never, ever give a tactile cue in your entire CrossFit career, are you a bad coach?
Of course not.
Okay.
Of course not. And I will tell you, and we were going to get to this point, is like, I very, very, very rarely use tactile cues anymore. I can think of the few situations that I do, but primarily it is all verbal and visual.
And then on that, when would you become a bad coach when you don't use a tactile cue?
If you've got an athlete that learns best that way, and you've uncovered that your verbal don't work, your visual don't work, and they are not getting it. And I know I can remember this from my early days where my cueing library was very limited, where I'd try it. I'd try a verbal cue. I'd say it louder, try it again, say it even louder. Then I would try my tactile cue, which was which was usually like grabbing somebody and trying to move them into place. They'd lose balance and nearly fall over and not get it. And then I'd be like, dang it, Denise, she just doesn't get it. And I'd move on and I'd forget about her and I'd be mad at her because she's not figuring that out. When in reality,
they don't like me.
It was me that's not setting them up for success. And so those are the situations where not using a cueing style would dictate that you're not an effective coach because you've not come up with the solution that's going to work for your athlete. We've got some other good things going on here in the chat. Number 1, Cabo is
wait a second.
Yeah,
she's available but not on the call. Slacker, you're getting that Nescafe right to your doorstep.
That's right. Speaking of Folgers, we got Cody on here asking about coffee. He's drinking his Folgers this morning, I'm sure. Jens, I would be curious to know. I have a feeling this sounds like a DT-ism, the party feet.
Yeah.
I have a feeling I know what you mean by that. Tell me about that. What do you mean by party
So
feet?
the way I view coaching is like you have static positions and dynamic positions as a coach. And your static position is when you're teaching. It's kind of it's like trying to listen to a presenter that is constantly just back and forth.
Oh yeah.
And you're like this is exhausting. So when you're teaching, I know we're not talking about that, but just to give the other side, when you're teaching, you have a platform. And you stand your ground, you face the people, and you communicate. It's not wrong to kind of just move a little bit, but the more movement, the less they're able to probably focus. And I'm assuming that. I don't know for sure. So static. But when you're like, the command is go, and you've set the standard of what's going to happen next, party feet, like you are on the hunt. So that also doesn't mean that you're just running around like a chicken with its head cut off, which is
Right.
also exhausting. And just sidebar, I've been watching a trial lately, so I'm all in lawyer talk. Sidebar. Um, If you're coaching back-to-back classes and multiple classes a day, you are going to burn out real fast if you're just frantically running around and you're in the shark-infested water and you're here. There's obviously a time for that, but party feet is just you're on the hunt. You are moving. You're out to the side. Maybe you're in and you're out. But if you're just standing still for significant periods of time, again, not wrong, because we could have some very effective people that could just pretty much not move the entire session, probably do a good job.
Yeah.
But party feet is just where you now have to get yourself into a position that will allow you to assess the point of performance or see for a fault that you just asked them to focus on. So you got to move those feet.
Yeah. Get out there and do your thing.
Yeah.
You're telling me that leaning against the pull-up rig with my coffee in one hand and my
Wait,
the music in the other hand
isn't
isn't
your
effective?
boss the king of leaning on things? The fern? You know
Oh,
the
the
fern?
Fern or Ackerman? Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know. I
Right.
don't think Jason coaches classes, so I don't know. But
Yes, he definitely does not. That's for sure.
but Fern will just be
Um,
like here, and he'll be like, name, body part, direction, and it's
Knees
effective.
out, chest up. Yeah,
Hey,
you're right. He doesn't even. Yeah, there we go. There's one
like,
of those from the
it
arms
works.
cross.
It works.
Yeah. Um, all right. So we've got a couple other things. So Steven asks, are circles better than lines? What do you think?
They're both great. I mean, it depends on what your focus is. I'll tell you why I would choose one or the other.
Oh,
Whenever we are moving, when we're doing barbell work, always lines. And I truly mean always. I don't think I would ever put anyone in a circle with a barbell unless there was like 3 people and they were like really far apart. And even then, why?
yeah,
Um,
that one's good.
actually,
Yep.
actually, if there was a small class and it was some kind of partner thing, maybe I would do some kind of triangle just because they could see each other and it would be fun to be like, you go, and then that would probably
Yeah, if you're
be the
doing like
only
a
time.
conga line almost
Yeah.
style thing or like something like that.
Yeah, so they could just see each other, but very rare. So, barbells, whenever there's line work, whenever there's barbells, line work for sure. I also really like lines when I'm assessing floor gymnastics, like if we're doing some kind of plank, pike push up, handstand hold, so because I can see down the line. However, I also have done that in circles. So it depends on the workout, the group, the vibe. If I get a chatty class and there's going to be long lines to kind of minimize the chat, not to eliminate it because I love a chatty group. To minimize it, I'll get them in a circle so I can wrangle them a little bit more. So sometimes some group management will push me to circles. But when it's an organized class with a lot of equipment, it's just got to be the logistics that are best going to allow you for safe traffic patterns,
Yeah.
equipment flying around, people going from one thing to the next. But
Yeah.
circles are a great time for circles is general warm up, even some gymnastic specific, or even a smaller class if you're doing some kind of PVC work. So
Yep. Yeah.
not one is
PVC.
better than the other. It just depends on the context,
Yeah. Yeah. And I'd put it out there to anybody that has aspirations of trying to get on seminar staff of like, that is what we typically do. One, because Kristin says right here, like it's a great way to keep people engaged. Plus, everybody's able to learn from each other. If I'm over here working with this athlete, the ones over here can watch what I'm doing. And as everybody on this call probably knows, of like when I give a cue and somebody else sees it, more than likely, or hears it, they're going to be able to learn from that and work on that as well. And so if that's something that you have aspirations, the seminar staff, mixing that in so you see what that feels and looks like, so you're used to it once you get a chance to do something at a seminar, I think that'd be effective. But yeah, I'm with you. PVC pipes, medicine ball cleans, that kind of stuff is when I'm doing it.
I also think circles are really great to practice the scene and correcting and the cross circle work, because cross circle cueing is the same as cross room cueing, and you're just a little bit more confined where you're not getting as distracted. So the circles have so many benefits. I would highly encourage to implement them in those warm-ups and opportunities to do that.
Yeah, and Sergio calls it out right here, right?
Sergio!
Yeah.
Gio!
Fostering community, allowing everybody to learn from each other. Yeah, I think that's great. Let's see. I think there's some other things up here. What else do I want to cover? Oh, all right. So I'd be curious to know, you made mention earlier that you started more so probably as like a coach that defaulted towards tactile cues. You're now at a point where you primarily use verbal cues. What was that transition like, and what have you learned that's made your verbal cues more effective?
I'll be honest, I don't recall the transition. I couldn't tell you when all of a sudden it felt good. But I just knew, I just kept getting told that I was talking too much. And I had to find a way to do that less. And being around the people I worked with at Reebok CrossFit One, it was just constant feedback. And I can't emphasize that feedback loop enough. You need to be told almost in the moment, you're saying too much. Say that better. But I would do things like take what I was saying or what I wanted to say, and then I would give myself, let's say it took me 30 seconds. I would say, okay, I'm going to say it again, but I'm only allowed 20 seconds. And then I would say it again, and I'm like, now I can only do it in 10 seconds. And you just start to realize that all these fluffy words that are in there, although they're fun and they make us feel good, they're actually just distractions. And then you get it down to the point of, all right, I'm seeing this fault. I need to say this in 5 seconds. And it all come down to just being able to help more people, I think. But I couldn't tell you when that transition happened, but I would say it was probably within a couple of years of being on seminar staff where I started to get more comfortable, even just saying someone's name, because we forget that it's nerve-wracking for people to shout someone's name across the room, let alone how that makes that person feel.
Right.
So there's just a lot. It's not as simple as just don't do tactile, do verbal. I mean, there is a journey.
Yeah, and I want to get into like kind of what my default mindset is around coming up with an effective verbal cue, but you made a good point there, and I think this is one that I know that I've still have on occasion. I see it an awful lot when I'm watching other people coach, and that's talking too much and saying too many words when they're trying to provide a verbal cue. And if you say too much, it takes too much time. It's probably not going to be effective because you're not going to get to the point of what you're trying to accomplish. And you're probably going to lose your athlete before you get there. And so I'd be curious to know some of the things that you see coaches do that causes them to say too many words. I know one of them that I see regularly is that a coach oftentimes feels like they need to tell the athlete what they're doing wrong to justify telling them what to do in order to fix it. So it's like, hey, Denise, you're not opening your hips. So on the next rep, I want you to open your hips. Well, it's like, if I tell you to open your hips, which isn't great anyways, because that's not telling you how to do it, it's telling you what to do. But if I'm telling you, hey, on the next one, squeeze your butt, it's probably implied that you're not squeezing your butt enough currently. So I don't need to tell you you're not squeezing your butt. So I want you to squeeze your butt, or whatever that is. Is there anything else that you see that causes people to end up talking too much when it comes to verbal cues?
Well, I don't think I can answer that accurately because I would truly have to see that person and ask them like what's going on. But what I can do is tell you what I think can cause it. One is just their level of preparation. Not that they didn't prepare, like it's not, oh, I didn't think about this, but just how they prepare. And um another is that they really enjoy the art of movement and they just love to express things, or they like to tell a story or have an analogy, or they just really enjoy that aspect of coaching. Another is that they're not confident, so they're trying to maybe build credibility by giving a backstory on some
Yes.
things. Yeah,
Yeah.
which I've done. I'm guilty. I'm guilty for all these. This is
100%.
hypothetically, this is what I think. This never happened to me, Todd, but no, all this was me. Um, Another is that maybe they're just trying to kind of bide some time. If you had a really short workout and you don't really know how to use the hour with intention, you might just want to kind of prolong some things. And I don't even know if that would be a conscious thing. Um, but what I tend to see a lot of is either there isn't really any corrections, there's these global corrections, which we should talk about global corrections because I actually I feel differently about global corrections now. And then sometimes in order to get everything you want to say in, you say it really, really fast. So it's like it's wrong, but it's just,
But
hey,
it's just too much. Yeah.
hey, when you squat and you're pushing your knees, and so next time when I say go, make sure you push your knees out really hard, like you're touching my hand. Ready? And it's like fast. So
It's fast
there
and
are a
it's a
couple
lot.
of
Yeah.
things I've seen. I think why somebody would do that, but again, I'm not in people's heads. I don't know, but
Yeah, and I'm not asking why they're doing that, but just the characteristics, like I said,
yeah,
of like you say what's wrong before you say how to fix it, ends up adding too many words. I also see coaches that can tell something's wrong and maybe even they know what the fault is, but they don't necessarily know the root cause.
yeah,
And so they just start saying a bunch of different things. So on this next one, I want you back in your heels. So think hips back and push your knees out. And then I want your chest up. Maybe they're spouting off like all of the points of performance. And I'm like, you just told them
yeah,
to do everything. What is the one thing that's wrong? If you're telling them everything, you're telling them nothing really. And so we need to figure out how to limit the one thing that you actually want them to
hmm,
do.
that's a good one.
Because yeah, I think the classified here, talking too much will make athletes not listen. There's a lot going on, and the athlete is more focused on getting the movement done instead of holding the conversation. I think you're absolutely right. There's also athletes that feel put on the spot when you start talking to them, especially if you're spending a lot of time and a lot of words, and they're just going to like nod their head and be like, okay, I got it. So you get the heck away from them and you just leave them alone. So I
Yeah.
see that happen quite a bit.
I don't know who
Um,
Clazyfield is, but based on that picture, I'm never arguing with that human.
yeah, I know. It's like
He's
we got some
jacked.
guns in that thing, right? Absolutely. Yeah, DT said the same thing that James, same thing. Early on, I think I was more about proving that I know my stuff and add words to show that knowledge. And so this is where like you use words from the level one trainer. Hey, I need more posterior chain engagement and give me more midline stabilization. Let's go ahead and do some of that. And it's like, that means absolutely nothing to most of our athletes.
Todd, I'll
Um,
tell you something though. I would prefer a chatty correctional coach than silence. Because what they're trying to do, right? They're trying, like you were saying, they're trying to give all these things. They see a problem, they're not quite sure what it is. And I think that's a really good problem to have is that you're giving them a lot, but man, you're trying. So yeah, keep going.
you're only going to get there. And I think to your point, you're only going to figure this stuff out and get better at any cueing style by doing it.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, just like the rest of us, when you start doing it, you're going to do it wrong and it's not going to be very good.
I
And you've
still
got
do
to
it.
be, oh, okay, exactly. I'm still not very good. I can definitely be better. And, Amber makes a good point here too. The more you say to an athlete, the more
Mhm.
they overthink it and potentially get frustrated.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's like you give the right cue, but an athlete doesn't have the like kinesthetic awareness or the body awareness to change things in a single rep. And so they need a couple reps to kind of mentally think through that. So I agree with you
Mhm.
there.
Same.
Jess, clear as kind. You
Oh,
know,
Brene,
I'm a big
pulling
Brene
out the
fan.
Brene.
Yeah, that's
Boom.
the
Kudos,
best.
Jess.
Yeah.
I like to be unclear and unkind.
Unkind. I can back that one up
Confusion.
for sure. Let's see. What else do we got here? James, and with confidence and experience, it's just knowing that I should be the one who knows their stuff and just give them the simplest form of that communication. We talk about this a lot, especially at the level 2 when we're talking about effective teaching. It's typically from the people that have this really deep knowledge base, and then they're able to take it and distill it and communicate it in a way that's super simple. And not only should that be the case when we're teaching, but that should be the case with our cues and corrections as well. And so I know I'd mentioned it earlier, talking about making that transition from the tactile cues to the verbal cues. The biggest thing that like the light bulb went off in my head is thinking through the concept of what body part's out of place and where does it go to get in place.
Yep.
If
Yep.
we keep that on the front of our mind, not only does that help dictate and direct our verbal cues, but it can also help us think through a visual cue and or a tactile cue of giving a target there. And so I would love to like, can you think of any examples of common faults in one of the 9 foundational movements that you can give a simple cue and correction to by just thinking through the process of body part out of place, telling it where to go to get in place?
I mean, yeah, pulling early on a sumo deadlift high pull.
Sweet. What body part's out of place?
The elbow. It could be the hip
Cool.
or the elbow, but I'd say elbow. I'd be like, lock your elbows as you stand. It would just be, and again, exaggeration. We don't want this stiff arm, but we got to get them to understand it.
Yeah, it's like you pretty much can think of almost any of the points of performance for any of the 9 foundational movements. And if you think body part out of place, where does it go to get in place? You can come up with a cue that more than likely is probably 3 words. And I don't think it should be any more than 5 words. And I like to use that kind of as a rule of thumb. Like if my verbal cues are more than 5 words, I'm saying too much. I'm over explaining. It's probably too much going on.
And everyone, I'm assuming everyone that's on this call, based on the community at Best Hour, they know this. Like they're familiar with this. Newer people might be starting to get it, but the knowing is that internal. It's like all the study. It's up there. It's great. Yeah, but when it gets out with this, what happens? And that's where the disconnect is. And I can't emphasize this enough. If you want to be good at coaching, the amount of work you're going to do outside the class relative to in the class is like tenfold. I mean, you have to, in your plan, you should be writing down the main faults. I wouldn't even write down points when I'm teaching. Yes, I want to see this. But then when it comes to, hey, I'm going to go out and hunt, party feet, this is what I'm looking for. Oh, I'm looking for our elbows bending early. All right, what am I going to probably see? Elbows bending early. What am I going to say? And then write down what you're going to say and practice it. And write down 3 of those things and practice it, and just do it for one fault. I mean, you have to actually take some kind of practice plan, deliberate, intentional work, and apply it to the class. And the need for development is that it's just, you cannot just, it's like the muscle up. You can't keep failing the strict muscle up and keep going on the high rings. You got to come down to the low rings. You got to do the work, and no one likes to. It can get boring and blah, blah, blah. But if you keep just showing up to class every day without any kind of deliberate, intentional practice, you're going to keep not failing. Well, maybe you will fail at the thing you wanted, but it's just a lot of work. Coaching CrossFit is hard. No, anyone can really lead a class, right? But to really coach and to continue to excel, it takes a lot of work and it takes a long time.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. It's like and we talk about this at the seminars all the time, of like, this is a skill that you're only going to develop by doing it. And when you start doing it, you're going to be really bad, like really bad. But with a lot of practice and doing it a lot and being intentional, you're only going to be kind of bad. And then you're just going to be bad. And eventually you'll be kind of okay, and then good and better, and eventually great. But you've got to be willing to go through that process of preparing beforehand and being okay, not being great. Matt brings up and asks a good question here. Say you have a heavy day and you have the rest of time between lifts for a more conversational discussion about what they're doing wrong. Would you go more in depth then?
Oh
What
yeah,
do you think about that?
100%. Yes. That's why I love these days. It's a really good time for really personalized one-on-one attention to give them some kind of drill or skill that they can do in between that won't fatigue them. I mean, take the back squat as an example. If you have this is why I love these days. Again, you take somebody that is we'll take 3 people. You've got your person who's going to need that rest and they move well, and it really is for them today about the little things. They're going to be throwing up some heavy weight. They've been doing this a while. They're going to need that rest with a little bit of tweaking. And then you've got the person that's kind of they're still going to be able to put a bit of weight on the bar, but then mechanically they need some help. So, hey, I'm going to put a ball here, or I'm going to give you a box, and I want you to do just 3 to 5 very slow reps where you're focusing on this thing relative to whatever it is. And then you've got your person who's new, and you've got a 5x5 back squat, and they're probably only going to be able to do something. Generally, I don't want to assume they could be a beast, but newer people that maybe are a little frightened of lifting or haven't done it before. And I think that time in between is an opportunity for them to get their heart rate up, like put them on the bike. Hey, go for like 90 seconds and just pedal as hard or as little as you want. And even maybe give them some like sit-ups in between, because for somebody like that, it's all about them coming, being seen, having attention, and being inspired to come back the next day. So I think that that in between can be super personalized on those days. So yeah, Matt, I would for sure go into more depth and meet them wherever they're at with that
Yeah. I think
application.
that's the good point, right? Is like you have more time to have a deeper conversation, but we also need to be clear and succinct on what we want them to do.
Yeah.
And so it can, yeah, I mean, I could think through different examples. The more advanced the athlete you have, the more you can get into maybe the nuances of the lift and what they're doing wrong, and they might be able to understand it. The more beginner they are, it still might be a simple like 3 to 5 word cue, but you have a little bit more time to show them what you're talking about or let them practice some reps without weight or something like that. But yeah, absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
Classified makes a point here of like, if you've got a big class, 15 or more, you only have so much time. So if you're spending, 20 words with every athlete, it's going to take too long and you're not going to have time to give them that much attention. That's why those short, specific, and actionable cues are important. What else we got? All right, here's a good one. I'm in again with how do you get a nervous coach that talks too much to talk less and cue more?
I would first ask why they're nervous. And that would really depend on how I would go from there. Because I can't say they're nervous, do this. It's such a hard one to answer without knowing. But
If you, I feel like so say you're at a level 2, you've seen people at level 2s that clearly are nervous. Do you stop them and ask them, hey, why are you nervous? I feel like that would put them on the spot and make them even more embarrassed. So what do you mean? So you're watching somebody that is clearly nervous because they're doing something new or they're doing something in a new environment and they start talking too much. What do you do in that scenario?
I think I would ask them, hey, when you're about to go cue, what are you thinking? And if they were saying, I don't really know, I'd say, okay, on the next one, I would just give them the thing to do. I would say, next time you say, hey, the call is go, we're going to do 5 to 8 reps. I want you to just walk around, and every time you call a rep, just call someone's name and acknowledge what they're doing as being good. I don't even know if I would go right into cueing. I think I would just get them into the habit of saying, Todd, good job. And we do that for a few rounds. And then when we come back again, I'd say, okay, now you see how you said, Todd, good job. It was very short. Do the same thing, but now, Todd, knees out. And I might even have them say that, even if Todd's knees are out.
Right. Yeah.
Just so that they can see a little bit of a change, and just it would be slow steps. And at the level 2, though, I would first ask them what are they thinking, because that might be oh, I don't really want to, I don't really know how. It could be a how piece, but I think I would do that. I mean, there's so many techniques, but I think I would just
Yeah.
set them up for success with maybe just saying names and something good, and then maybe name and one thing to say, like the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
if
I
I was
think I
next to
think
them, I would walk around with them and whisper in their ear. I would just say,
yeah.
Say this," and, like, say this.
One I think to your point of what you mentioned earlier, the amount of prep time that goes into actually coaching and the amount of work we need to do to be prepared to coach on the floor, like I think oftentimes coaches haven't thought through what the cues and corrections are before they go to class. And so they see a fault pop up and they're like talking through their thought process like externally. And it's like, oh, so I'm seeing your knees are coming in. And so what I want you to do is push them out. So here's what I'm thinking you probably need to do. And it's like all of a sudden it's 10, 12 words. And so, or more than that. So potentially if you're watching and evaluating a coach, maybe afterwards, say they're doing back-to-back classes and you get them for 5 minutes after their class to kind of give them a debrief. You can bring up the fault that you saw. You can talk through how they went about correcting it. And you could potentially ask them on the spot, how could you give that same correction in 3 words or less or 5 words or less? And now all of a sudden they take a second, they think about it. They have that. And now they're armed with that cue for the next class. And they go back in. And now when they see that fault again, we've already talked about it. They now have a plan. They've thought about it beforehand, which they potentially didn't do before the class started. And hopefully they're a little bit more proactive and they can fall out of the trap of just rambling through all the different things that are happening in their head.
Yeah, and,
Um,
Todd, sorry, I just have a few more things. If the coach was newer, I wouldn't care how much they talked either. I'd be like, "You just go out and do I am less concerned about you talking a lot than I am about you helping people." And back to your level 2 thing, I would ask that question. I wouldn't ask it the way you said, "Were you nervous?" I would stop the group and I would just say, "Hey guys, talk amongst yourselves," and I'd take this person just a little bit away and I'd be like, "How you feeling? You feel a little nervous?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, what do you love about coaching?" And I would just make it super, and then I would just go back in. I'd be like, "Hey, just go out there and have fun," and just let them relax. Because a nervous coach will never improve if they cannot somewhat relax, and it
right.
doesn't help having somebody just say, "Talk less," you know, "Talk less."
It,
And you're so stressed out, you
it,
talk more.
exactly. I think Kristin makes a good point here too of giving somebody permission to not be perfect. And that's the whole thing is like most of the time people that are nervous, they're nervous of failing, they're nervous of being in front of their peers, they're nervous of coaching for the first time or
Mhm.
whatever this thing is. And so giving them permission and letting them know that, hey, by the way, you're never going to do it perfect. I've never done it perfect. It's never been done perfect. So just do your thing. And I think to your point, especially if it's a newer coach, just let them get reps, let them feel
Yeah.
comfortable. You don't have to be it's not like anytime I think just in general, when we're giving coaches feedback, it's not for us to tell them what they suck at or to, show them how bad they are. It's to just give them ideas on how to be better. And I think if we can do that in a fun way, there's some value to that too, especially like your example and what I was asking about at a level 2. If I can get somebody to laugh, they'll loosen up a little bit usually if they're
Yeah.
super nervous and I can jump in and say something and ask them how many words they said or something like that. And then I challenge them to do it in less words. You can do that in a way that is light and fun and okay. And not like condemning of, oh my gosh, I can't believe you just said that many words for your
Mhm.
cue. You suck. Don't do that again. Well, no one's we texted about this yesterday how do we make coaches better? Shame and guilt. Shame and guilt.
Shame
So
is the
yeah,
best
those are
way.
the best two. No, that's not
Yeah.
the
It's
way.
not
It's not the way we
perfect.
do that.
No, it's gotta be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, let's see. We've got a couple things. Where was it? Oh, Kyle's got a good point here. And this brings us back to something that you talked about. Kyle says he's also stopped the whole class and gave a mid-lift session global cue for a fault I was
Mhm.
seeing across the board. So you
Yeah.
made mention before on your mind has changed about global cues. Tell me about that.
Well, yes, Kyle, I love that. That's something that we were, at least I was taught. I'm assuming Cabo and Todd, you were too, is look, if you're seeing the same fault in multiple people, it's a good idea to stop and do that. So kudos. Global cues. Global cues are better than no cues. And I have become, I don't know if I told you this, but I stepped away from coaching. I think I told you this for a few months. Did I tell you this?
What's that? Go ahead. Tell me,
But
and then
you
I'll let
weren't
you know.
were you listening? No, I said I stepped away from coaching for a few months.
Oh, I don't think I knew that. No.
Yeah, yeah, in February, I stepped away. I haven't coached a class since February, and, I know people are probably like, "What? What?"
Is it because of that handstand push-up day where you missed your timeline because you took those ladies and spent more
Ah,
time on the specific
Todd,
warm-up to get them
there's
upside down, and you were like, you realize I DT'd lesson plans, I didn't hit my lesson plan timeline, I need to retire? Is that what
there
it
are
was?
more days than that than you would like to know. There are more of that because yes, there's no perfection here. No, I intentionally stepped away to reassess my approach to coaching a CrossFit class, and I couldn't do it while I was in it. Like I couldn't get out of my own way. So I stepped away. I'm coaching tomorrow for the first time since February. I can't wait. But and I immersed myself in just being a member. Like a true member. I went into class and at first it was hard. Wasn't thinking about anything the coach was doing, but just thinking how I was having this experience as a member. And man, it has opened my eyes to so many things. And this is we will never move our goalpost, like our standards. And I think this gets a little bit kind of ambiguous with people, but we don't ever move the standard. But the ways that we get to that standard, I see a little different now than what I used to. And this global queuing is an example of that because I I don't always get my name called in a queue, but I hear a queue, and we say it all the time. We say, "Hey, if you say something, everyone will just kind of lift their chest." And I'll hear this queue, and I'll be like, "Okay, maybe I should do that." Like as a member, I'm thinking this. So I think that is it better to say name and queue? Yes, should that be happening for sure. But I also see a lot of value in the global queue just to keep everybody kind of engaged and moving. Um
I I would agree with that if there's something specific. I've also seen it used almost as a filler word, and if you're just repeating the same thing between every rep as a global cue that just is like I'm just yelling it, it becomes something that I think athletes just don't even hear anymore. It's like the mom that has the kid that's just going
yeah.
mom, mom, mom,
Well,
mom. It's like
there's
sooner or
just
later I don't
yelling.
hear it.
There's just kind of stating points of performance, and there's actual global cueing, and they're not the
Right.
same thing.
Yeah.
So and again, a newer coach, do all the global cues you want, please. Like, just say things, but the there should be a blend of these things, and they should be intentional. Like everybody chest up, or everybody wiggle your toes, and then what? That's back to Kyle's point is seeing multiple people do this fault, but just being as a member, and this is the other side too, because I'm a coach and I do somewhat know what my body looks like when I move. I make a decision in the moment as to whether I'm going to pick up that global cue or not. However, not everybody has that awareness, so it can go the other way. But yeah, a lot. Just it's been. I have so we should do another show on this because I have
Oh
so
yeah.
many thoughts as a member.
Yeah. It's nice, right? And
It's
I
so
think
good.
if you're only coaching, I think not only is it nice to be a member and not like to not have to put your coach hat on when you walk into class, but just in general, I know a lot of us coaches and owners, we coach classes and then we have to work out in our own time. I challenge everybody and encourage everybody on this to take classes. Even if you can't just be a member like DT's been able to be for a couple months, take classes. There is so much to be learned by being in class and feeling what's effective or not effective. Like I
Mhm.
can't tell you how much I've been like I'm in class and I'm watching a coach do something and I'm like that kind of sucks. And oh by the way, I do that all the time. I
Like
better not
holding
do
on
that
to a
anymore.
bar. "Hey,
Like,
everyone pick up your barbell. I'm gonna talk for 90 seconds while you're
yeah,
standing there." Like, oh, man, first time I experienced that, I was like, "I do that. I
I
do
do it
that.
all
I
the time.
hate
Yeah.
this."
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so
Um,
there's a lot of stuff that you just are disconnected from if you're not ever an athlete in class. And so there's so much to learn there.
And I'll just end on this, and then we'll do a whole nother episode on this. But so I was in class one time, and I had a great time. We did a little lifting, we did, and then
Just once you had a good time in class? Just once?
just
I
this
said
one
class in
time,
one time.
just one time.
No.
But it was, there's a reason why I'm saying this one time. It wasn't the
Yeah.
class, but
I know.
we did some lifting, and we took that lift and we put it into the workout with another couple of movements, and everyone was having a good time, and the class got done. And I spoke to the coach, and they were just really down on themselves. They were like, I just didn't feel like I did a good job, and blah blah blah. And I think that we should always have that lens of we can be better, but man, you cannot beat yourself up like that. People
No.
love doing this stuff. I was
Right.
in the class. Wasn't
Nobody
you
cares.
took
Nobody
care
knows.
of me. I got a workout in.
Yeah.
I spoke with today I went to class this morning just because I wanted to see my friends. Like, truly,
Oh,
I laid
yeah.
in bed for like longer than I should, and I'm like, man, I really want to go see the 6:15 people. And I got up and I went, and I'm so glad I did. And that's why I'm saying this one class, because they look so sad, and I was like, why are you so sad? That was awesome. I got a couple of things if you ever want anything. But I had a really good time, and I'm so like, thank you for doing that. Like, coach millions of classes a day, Thank you for
Yeah.
doing this.
And I think that's the big takeaway. And we work with a lot of coaches, and I've had that same conversation where they're like, man, the session, I just knew it wasn't as good as I could, and I ruined the rest of my day, and I was super upset. And it's like, hey, was everybody safe? Did they sweat? Did they have a good time? Then you win. Like,
Are they
that's
coming back
what-
tomorrow?
yeah, then they're,
Yeah.
and it's interesting because sometimes it's like I had way more people than I expected, and it just didn't go as well. And I'm like, a lot of people are coming to your classes. That means you're doing good, not
There was
doing
like
bad.
18
Don't beat
people in this
yeah.
class. It wasn't,
Don't.
and I learned a new way to scale the wall facing handstand push up.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Because it was really, I can't do the full thing right now because I've got triceps like a 5-year-old, monkey. I don't even know. They're like tiny. But being in class and listening to the coach, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do that. I would never think about doing that. And yeah, take classes.
Yeah, take classes. Also, going over by 7 minutes, you can't feel terrible. I can't tell you
That's
how many
early, Classy.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
DTs are usually 90 minutes, so 30
Yeah.
minutes over. We need to be able to
Oh,
self-evaluate and consider how we did and how we can be better. But there's no reason to get too upset about it, because you're going to have another opportunity to coach probably the class afterwards or the next day or the next week or whatever that is. So
don't get
yeah,
down. Don't get down.
Don't beat yourself up too much about it. I know we've got a couple minutes left here, and usually we like to spend the last couple minutes answering questions. So if you guys have any specific questions, it can be about cueing and correcting. It can be about DT and her green fingernails and her eye knuckles. It can be about anything. Still no coffee talk. PERC coffee.
I think I'm gonna
Todd 15 is your code to get 15% off. Make sure you guys go get your coffee.
The coffee I got recently, the Edwin whatever, it had like gummy bears in it. I got 100 grams of it because the bag was so expensive, and man, it was so good.
I went to look for it and it was sold out already. So.
Yeah, it's gone. I'm gonna get like a big bag next time. I will say this, Todd, if we don't have any questions, I am horrible at this. I even got called out on it at an affiliate gathering. When we do the talk and then the demo, you saw it. Actually, maybe it was at that one, but I am horrible at saying name and then cue.
I think I've been watching some of my videos, and so I've been going back and forth.
I'm horrible because I just see the fault. I only look for faults. I don't look for people. I just like you're a person.
You're just
second
a fault.
To the fault.
You're not a person. I don't care about you as a person. Yeah. I'm with you, Boucher. The not participating in class, the first step to burnout. Building on DT. Did you feel re-energized for CrossFit by doing more athlete and less mentor for the last 2 months? How are you feeling?
Oh man, is this Bobby Boucher?
Yeah.
What's that? A handle? The Third Space CrossFit. Is that a new gym? Is this Brian Boucher? Oh, Well, a little sneaky handle there, Boucher. Man, yes, I have never fallen out of love with CrossFit, but I was definitely starting to just get too caught in the nuances of it. And stepping back, I'm so in love with it again. And I can see why people show up every day to go to a CrossFit affiliate. Like I said today, I genuinely was in bed and I'm like, man, I'm sore. And ooh, these covers are so warm. But I'm like, I want to go see the crew. Like that's what got me there today.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think every coach should take a month off coaching, like a year, or or a week off every quarter, or something. No, a week's not enough. I don't know. It's good. It's good to just step back.
So if you're an affiliate owner, that means you need to be an affiliate university so your business can be in a place to where you can give a month off for all
No, they
of
just
your
closed the
coaches
gym.
throughout the year.
Close the gym for a month.
No, but then you don't get to see your folks at 6:15 in the
No, just
morning.
join another affiliate. It's fine.
No. Gotta be in a place. You got to be like Boucher and be an L4 affiliate, and
It's my
then you
podcast.
can set your coaches
Love
up to avoid burnout. Wow, look at this. DT, you told
Wait.
Zach that he has a beautiful squat and he's still riding the wave right there.
Was that Zach from is that when we did oh no, that was Sam. Zach, when did I tell you that?
She wants to take it back, Zach. Don't tell her.
In a workout
Just live
month
with it.
ago. Were we at I can't see your picture. It's KOP. It must have been at there you go, Todd nailed it. Make that sale. Go to affiliate you for all your
Let's go.
I'm waiting on Zach. Nicole shot. Love the AU crew. If I told you have a beautiful squat, Zach. Yeah, the affiliate summit.
Would you hold it against me? Is that this line right there?
Would you hold
it?
Is
that your pickup
did.
Line?
And he did. He did. Was it the one in New Jersey? I think it was the one in New Jersey. I remember. Yeah. You're beautiful, Zach. The reason why you were squatting and I wasn't. Yeah, Walwick. Yeah. Oh, we did that gigantic station workout. That was fun. It was a little hot. Hanging from that bar at the affiliate summit. Oh, that's Jessica.
Ooh. All right.
Yeah.
Big question for you, Nicole, or from Nicole. You going to come to Affiliate Con October?
I don't know. Am I? Was I invited? Can I go? Or
Yes.
I've seen it on the Instagrams. That's what your grandma and grandpa. I've seen it on the Instagrams, but I don't fully know exactly what it is. It looks really cool. When is it? In October.
October. Kristin, drop the dates in here. When is it? It's October something. Of course you're invited, DT. You're always invited. Let's go.
Where is it? Where?
It's in Texas, outside of Dallas, I believe.
Okay. I don't ever go to Dallas for anything because Dallas sucks.
You know,
go Birds.
Ouch.
Go Birds. It's a thing. It's a rivalry.
They just got a new receiver.
Yeah, they don't need more than that. They're gonna need more than that. But I think actually I'm in Brazil, but maybe not until after. Oh, there we go. Sergio, he knows.
They're taking you back, huh? He's bringing you back down. That's awesome.
They're letting me back in. I tell you, the Brazilian people are my favorite people. Sorry for all the other people. I just love them, and I had such a great time. Sergio, mwah. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, DT, as always, a pleasure. We're gonna have to. I feel like we got through like 10% of the conversation that we could have and should have had about these corrections and about your journey as affiliate participant, affiliate member. So we'll have to have you back on soon and continue the conversation. But as always, a pleasure to have you on. Loved having all the rest of you guys on that we're watching and listening live. Appreciate the interaction and the questions throughout. If you guys like this content and you want more of it, you're looking for coach development content, the Knowledge is where you want to go for that. We've got the Knowledge Daily, a library full of videos, DTs in there. We've got the Knowledge Pro with lessons and calls. If you guys are an affiliate owner and you're not a part of Affiliate University yet, we are offering we're offering a free trial. It still blows my mind. I say this every single week. You get the opportunity to do Affiliate University for free. So take advantage of that. Go to thebesthouroftheday.com for more details on both of those things. One final question. I don't know that I can, I'm going to throw it out there, DT, because you have more of the insight. It's not a nice question, but anyways.
I love not nice questions.
Anything on the L4? Everybody's dying. We got all kinds of people that are fighting their guts out, getting ready for the L4.
Platform where you can drop like a dollar amount when you put a question in?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, throw some money at us.
You think? Jessica, you probably know, 100% hand on heart, you probably know as much as I do that there's a pause on it being scheduled. And they're just trying to, I think, rework how it's delivered. So that's all I know. Unfortunately, that's all we're in a holding pattern. That's a Top Gun term.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you guys will be the first to know when it comes back or when it's getting scheduled again, because we know we've got a lot of folks within the Best Hour ecosystem that are ready to rock and crush that thing. So can't wait for it. But always a pleasure, DT. Looking forward to next time. Thank you so much for spending time with us. We will see you next time. Take those eyeball knuckles away and have a good day with those things. Thank you for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. Now, if you're a coach who wants to coach more effectively, impact your members, and advance your career, then the Knowledge Pro is the next step. Inside, you'll get hundreds of coaching videos, weekly calls with level 4 coaches, and direct feedback on your coaching. From homework reviews to full class breakdowns, we do it all. This is the best way to grow as a coach and take your skills to the next level. Now, you can join the Knowledge Pro at besthouroftheirday.com/the-knowledge. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen. Now keep coaching, keep improving, and we'll see you next time.